But first, defence chiefs have begun speaking out against the Albanese government's austerity measures, which have been implemented to pay for AUKUS and our new Hunter frigates. But it should never be an either-or proposition. It's not as if nuclear subs are the only assets we need in our defence force, is it? The real worry is, with AUKUS still a decade away, why are we undermining our current capability to this extent? Here to discuss this and more, former Army Director General, Retired Brigadier Ian Langford. Ian, welcome. We don't often see such frank and open debate here from our service chiefs, current and former. Give me your assessment of their concern in relation to these cuts.
Well, thanks, Peter. Great to be here. I mean, what we're seeing based on those reports is really the pressure is starting to build in the system as a relation to the government setting out its ambitions under the AUKUS Pillar One submarine program, and at the same time trying to meet the objectives of the 2024 National Defence Strategy. You would understand, and your viewers would know, that inside a defence budget we have the major capital investment, which are the tanks, the ships and the aircraft. We've got the operating budget, which is how we get our soldiers, sailors and aviators on operations defending the country. And then we have a sustainment budget, which is the money that's used to maintain and service our platforms. When budgets are under pressure, it's often the sustainment budget that has to accept risk, and that impacts in the short term the ability sometimes of the Defence Force to manage its preparedness settings so it's already and always ready to fight tonight, as well as conduct its ability to manage risk in terms of its engagements with technology and guided weapons investment and other parts of the defence portfolio. And the last bit that really does come under pressure is, and must be maintained at all time, is the obligation that commanders have to keep the troops safe. So there can be no compromise when it comes to keeping soldiers, sailors and aviators safe in their roles despite budget pressure. So it's a sustainment budget that typically comes under pressure when money is tight. And given that the ambitions of the National Defence Strategy and the objectives of the AUKUS Pillar One submarine budget pressure comes from the same financial trail, we're starting to see evidence that you can't have both, given that there is an upper limit to the budget that's been allocated to both important aspects of our National Defence Strategy.
I guess the problem is, right now, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we're robbing Peter to pay for Paul, and Paul's not going to come for a decade. We can't predict if and when we're going to need serious, force pressure within that decade. We can't wait for it just to be a maritime exercise that we put to sea our subs and wash our hands of it all. I mean, we could need all of our other capability at the one time. And this idea that we just can cut back the maintenance budget, we may not be able to put what we've got to sea. We may not be able to put our flyers in the sky. I mean, that's how bad it is. I think, we need, Ian, someone like you with all your experience, to educate Australians to say this isn't good enough. That's right. I think, the reality is the government has no greater responsibility to the people of Australia than to defend the nation. It is right that under AUKUS Pillar One that the budget is allocated to acquire the deterrent in the form and function of the Virginia-class submarine and then the SSN AUKUS. But that can't come at the cost of the nation to be able to be ready to fight tonight. So we need, again, our defence personnel, their platforms and their ability to force project in defence of this nation to be on the readiness levels that are necessary relative to the threat. The other aspect of pressure that we're seeing, I think, play out across the defence budget is tempo. The Australian Defence Force has never been as busy as it is in not only responding to the threats of today, but also anticipating and getting ready for the threats for tomorrow. And we're seeing that play out in terms of the ability of our service chiefs and our personnel to maintain our platforms on their current directed readiness levels, but also to make provision to acquire the future technology, the future infrastructure and industry partnerships, and the ability really to make sure that the ADF is future-proof and it's ready to fight the next war and not the last one. Just on another issue, but it's still defence related, 10 days ago there was a big announcement that Australian universities were back doing partnerships with China. Now, at the time I said, this is really concerning, given it wasn't that long ago we had grave concerns about some projects in particular in the defence space, but also broadly
Confucius Institutes and other things. Now, we learn that Macquarie Uni is in a partnership with a Chinese tech school, and that tech school is linked to the People's Liberation Army. Now, Penny Wong's gone out there and said, I'm concerned about all of this. We're going to have a national security review and we'll do it urgently. But it feels to me, Ian, that the government's been asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, these decisions and these cooperatives between universities do not exist in a vacuum. We understand and we know why historically companies like Huawei were banned from investing in our critical digital infrastructure. We understand why the Chinese-made AI program DeepSeek was banned from operating inside government platforms, and fundamentally they present a security risk. So to suggest that this is not a security risk that needs to be fully examined and understood in the context of Huawei and DeepSeek and other attempts by Chinese state apparatus to penetrate and compromise some of our systems, including the human system, which I think this refers to, is naive at best. So I'd encourage universities to engage with government and for the full security agency investigations to be conducted necessary to make sure that this is in Australia's interests and not just in the interests of another power.
Wise words, Ian Langford. Thank you.